Grab your favorite glass, pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick, light it, and blow. It's time to hang with Steel Sharpened Steel after dark.
Hello, Sharpies. How y'all doing out there? It is good to see you. Today's show is brought to you by mistakes. Sometimes we make mistakes because as we get older, we forget our duties. And sometimes, even though we have things that are part of our weekly routine, we overlook it because we've had a long day. And sometimes we forget that we have obligations even into the night. Sometimes we make mistakes and try new things on days where we still have duties that go on into the night.
She said duties.
Sometimes we make mistakes and try new edibles whose strength we're not sure of because we've forgotten that we have duties that go on into the night because we're getting old and we had a long day. And shit happens. So tonight, we'd like to remind all of you to forgive yourself when you make mistakes because we're only human, right? And welcome to the show.
Anthony Turner said, "Hi, Joy." I don't know if he was being he was being ironic or just a truthful commentator. Hello, everybody. You're only human. Yeah, don't worry about it. Let the soothing melodies of Jeffrey Osborne take you away from that edible. Don't ask her for too many edibles at last. So she's just gonna keep it mellow. We have got some great stuff for you guys today. We teased one of the things that was definitely going to be a part of our show, which is this young lady right here. This right here is an American hero. I don't know if the rest of you were anticipating a slow week in the run-up to the 4th of July, which is hashtag trademark. That's the official nomenclature of Independence,
Independence Day, yeah.
quote unquote, yeah, Second Independence Day. The 4th of July. If you thought it was going to be a slow news week because the January 6th Commission had been done said, we're wrapped. We're going to chill. We're going to let ourselves go back to our home districts, and then we're going to resume this stuff once we get back. And then it was like, we might have something or other we'd like to drop.
Real quick.
Yes. I see protecting.
What?
What's the real quick? You said real quick, and then you...
Oh no, it's like before I was thinking. No, I was just saying, like you were saying, about the news cycle. Like, oh yeah, real quick before you go about the. I told you.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Got it. Okay. So what we had here was a failure to communicate with the special assistant to the president and get her on the same page because this young lady was like, but see, I'm disgusted. And because I'm disgusted, I'm going to put on this white blazer and I'm going to toddle in on my high heels and I'm going to sit down. And Liz and I are going to have a talk. And one of the things I have to give Chairman Benny Thompson some real kudos for, because that's a brother who does not mind sharing the spotlight. He said, Vice Chair Liz, why don't you go ahead and talk to little Miss Debbie over here.
Liz, time fight.
I know that's right. Because Liz was like, so you had a talk with Pat Cipollini. And didn't he ask for a pardon? She's like, Yeah, something along. What was that word salad construction that she had? Something along the lines of.
Hmm.
But she said something along the lines of so many damn times. More or less along the lines of we're fucked and it's time to get up out this bitch, and we fixing to all go to jail.
That part, I feel like in her mind she was like, everybody else is over 60 and I got a long ass time to live. And they are already proven that they don't give a fuck about women. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and snitch because that's looking like the move.
It's looking like the best possible move for me, and I think that's exactly it, Joy. People are talking about, oh, destroyed her career and this, that, and the third. Miss is 26 years old.
Yeah, she's a youngster.
She's a Z. She's not, yeah.
Yeah, the rest of these 60 plus year, 70 plus year old dudes, Giuliani hair dye dripping down his face, all this. She's like, these guys can go to a country club jail for a couple of years and swill, but I'm not taking 30 years
She about to
of
be
my
Orange
life.
is the New Black, right? That is not the life for her.
And she's very Piper adjacent, let's be clear. She brunette Piper for real. Like straight up. And she wasn't gonna like that jail. But she wasn't never gonna see no parts of the jail because she said, see here, these boots are made for walking to this January 6th commission, and I'm fixing to do this. And do this, she did. When I tell you, I was blown away. My mom called me. She was like, are you watching this? I said, what do you mean, Mom? This little girl on the TV is telling all the business. And I said, wait, what? And she said, oh, you got to watch it right now. And so I found a little CNN feed on a Washington Post page. And I said, she said, what now?
She was like, they said, what do you have to say? She's like, and I'm feeling like I'm feeling like I'm running away, get away, keep going down the south, because I gotta win every day. And I'm feeling like it's gonna be the North Chest and the East and the West. Like,
she pulled an Eminem cipher out her pocketbook. It was just like spaghetti. It's just like she was just flowing, just dropping rhymes, bars. She did a versus with like, I don't know, Laura Ingraham, and Laura was Ray J. I was just like,
yeah, that works.
you would wish.
Mm-hmm.
Ray J, this is a side note. I have to pull this off to the side. I'm a solo myself. Ray J, when your sister has to gather you talking about tea and lemons for that disgraceful performance in that so-called verses that you pretended to try to do with Tank and Jackie's baby cousin, all that foolishness, that was not a verses. That wasn't a Vices. It wasn't a Devices. It wasn't a it wasn't even a frisbee. I don't know what that was, but between you and the Watermelon Boy and the 2711 background dancers that still didn't help you get your wish. Yes, I should be holding here. Look, here's my baby. It's my percussive massager. I wish. Friends don't let friends do verses. We're going to talk about what other people in the music business, what some other people in the music business need as far as friends, because there are some people in the music business who also need some friends who need to
Or
advise
handlers.
them. Handlers, not Chelsea handlers,
Right? No.
but some handlers for sure, because
Sponsors.
get some plastic chips for some people. Later on in the show, we will be talking about it. But let's get to this testimony. Chuck, I'm going to throw to you because you've been silent.
know what
Out of
happened.
the revelations, Yes, and you haven't had an edible. Out of the revelations of Cassidy Hutchinson's and the people on Pod Save America said that is about the most Republican white name possible. Cassidy Hutchinson. What was the big takeaway for you from Cassidy's testimony, and how do you think it changes the landscape of what we're seeing as far as Trump's potential legal troubles?
I think 50 Cent said it best on, I guess, Power season 7, 9, 10, Ghost, whichever one it was, when he made the comment, whatever he said, whatever they say Ghost did, he did that shit.
I know that's right.
Whatever Cassidy said Trump did, we all know that he did it. I think that if anything, what I thought was interesting earlier today, Tom, is I read that Governor Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas, no relation to Cassidy.
Oh, okay.
Governor Asa Hutchinson, who is one of those dyed-in-the-wool, stalwart, hardcore right-wingers, said that he found the young lady to be credible.
That's right.
You know, so what happens is, it's like we were talking about earlier. She's young. She is not tainted with the foolishness that so many of her older leaders within the party are tainted with. And, you know, a lot of people have been making comments like, well, what took her so long? What? Well, you know, I don't really like to do that because she could have stayed silent like so many others for, you know, obviously, even when you go in with a subpoena, you can go in and you can plead the fifth or do anything to kind of try to protect yourself. But she went ahead and put herself out there, and then boom, there it is. And so I think if anything else, the good thing is when you have members of his own inner circle, when you have young Republicans or old Republicans or whoever who are willing to break ranks and say, these are the crazy things that he did. And yeah, you liberals and progressives, y'all have thought these things and you've heard him become unhinged on Twitter and on TV. But I'm here to tell you that behind the scenes, these are the things that were going on. I think it's important. I think that it's important from the standpoint of, Tom, to be honest with you, I still hold a whole lot of skepticism as to what's going to be next. And the reason I hold skepticism about what's going to be next with Trump is not so much because I think he's some God with a little G. I think that more than anything, it's just all of my experience in life shows that people like him tend to get away with shit, right? They do bad things, they do deplorable things, but somehow, some way, they always seem to walk away, whereas other people who do bad things don't. And so if y'all hear my skepticism, it's not a legal skepticism. I think he's guilty as hell. I think that the evidence is overwhelming. It's just I don't trust our system of justice to actually go after Trump in the way they would people lower on the totem pole that we see all of the time. That's the only thing that concerns me. But the last point is I think that where she helps, Cassidy's testimony really helps, is there are a lot of people who are not liberals, they're not progressives, but they're not hardcore Republicans either. And they fell for the let's change the way Washington works line that Trump gave back in 2016. Pity them, pity us all that they did. But there are a lot of folks who are having some buyer's remorse. They might not come on social media and type it. They're not going to sit here in our comment section and amen that. But I've had some really good conversations with some people who really liked Trump in 2016 because they thought he'd be different, and they just disliked Hillary. I mean, we've talked about that a lot and a lot. It's just a lot of people in this country that for whatever reason couldn't stand Hillary Clinton and couldn't put their personal feelings aside but take one for the team, like a lot of us did, which is, well, I don't like it either, but I'm not going to like 3 or 4 conservative justices her. And now we're living that nightmare that we all preached about in our respective platforms. So I think she's going to help siphon off some votes in this midterm election year in these red states where people are like, you know what? Yeah, we all bought into the lie. And life is really screwed up right now. So kudos to Cassidy.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out to me, well, the thing that I will say was the biggest surprise, because I consider Trump to be utterly craven. The surprise to me was that he wanted to go to the Capitol. Because I remember when he said, "And I'll be there with you," and I was like, he ain't gonna be there. But apparently that he really did want to go, and that I do not doubt that had he been there, things might have been a whole lot worse. Because if he had been there to say anything to those people while they were about to do something,
shots fired.
I can't I can't even imagine what it would have I can't even imagine what would have happened had he been there. And I think it was prescient of Cipollini and Meadows, well, more Cipollini than Meadows, but I think it was quite prescient for him to say, if he shows up at that Capitol, everybody's going to jail. They're going to hit us with every criminal charge in the book. And when she talked about him reaching over the steering wheel and trying to do this, that, and the third, and then putting his hands around the guy's neck and all that, of course the right wing immediately came out and said, you can't do that in the Beast. And it was like, but it actually wasn't the Beast. It was an SUV. And you can see that it's an SUV and not the Beast. And then somebody came out with receipts, and you can see in the zoomed up video, there's a hand actually coming over, and he zoomed it, and then he just repeat. Yeah. And you can see that the hand actually is going over. And now, apparently, the Secret Service, who had sent some whispers out through intermediaries, now apparently they have agreed to actually come under oath and be deposed at the actual thing. So it'll be interesting to see, they sent out some things that maybe it wasn't accurate, but she said the reason Liz allowed that testimony, which There was a lot said about hearsay, and Chuck, maybe it would be better for you before we go too far down this road, because a lot of the right-wing talking points don't really understand what hearsay means. So can you give us a bit of a primer on what constitutes hearsay as opposed to what isn't hearsay?
Sure. But the important distinction is that it's an out-of-court statement made by somebody other than the declarant that is used to prove the truth of the matter asserted. Now, that is the textbook definition of hearsay. What it means in layman's term is this: I heard so-and-so say some bullshit. I wasn't necessarily there to see the bullshit, but I actually believe that what so-and-so said jumped off because not only did so-and-so said it, but such and such said that shit also, and I'm telling you what I heard. And so essentially in court, her testimony would not be valid in an actual court of law. She can't go into court and say, Agent X told me why. What she could be used for in court is if Agent X is called to the stand to testify. Once she's given that hearsay information to the federal investigators or whoever, and if Agent X gets up and says, "Oh, no, that's a bunch of bullshit. Trump didn't do that. That's not how it happened," then you could put her on the stand and run roughshod. Be like, "Well, what is it that Agent X told you? He told us on the witness stand yesterday."
Right. So that would be impeachment.
Absolutely.
Okay. So talk to the viewers about the difference in that, where she is describing what was told to her, even though it was told in the presence of the officer who apparently said it. Let's talk about the difference between that and the difference of her reciting things that were said in front of her while she was in the room. Right. People were calling that hearsay as well because that person was not on the stand. But she is relating what? Explain that difference, please.
Again, what it comes down to, Tom, is this. In an actual courtroom, she cannot discuss things that she was not necessarily privy to see and observe readily for herself. All right? She can testify to things that she saw and or readily observed. There's some exceptions to all of these things where obviously lawyers would try to get into the impeachment value is what I'm trying to get at, is really where her stock and trade will come into. But if she didn't see it, they'd have a difficult time allowing to wind her up and allowing her to testify again the things that were reported to her, even if they were reported to her in a timely fashion. Now, let me tell you the difference. She is a layperson, and she doesn't have one of those exceptions that would allow her to talk. Like, for instance, let's say that if it was something done for medical diagnosis, sometimes you can call a doctor in to say, well, I heard blah, 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 blah. Your preacher, sometimes there's an exception with regards to the clergy and things of that nature. No, actually, I'm sorry. Lazy and tired on the day. I actually misquoted that after 200 trials. In actuality, what it is you're pretty much clear from having your preacher, your doctor on certain things talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something that's from the purpose of trying to stop some type of manifest crazy injustice popping off. And that's where, if there is a limited exception here, that's where one would kick in this particular case, Tom, because again, what you had is she was hearing in real time matters that actually dealt with ultimately people dying, murder, mayhem, things of that nature. So you can make the argument that let her come in here and tell you firsthand what's happening. But the easier route is to put Agent X or Y on the stand, let them do what they're going to do, which is they're going to toe the party line. They're going to be like, President didn't do that. None of that happened. And then you get her up and you can get all the same information out. And again, you can call it impeachment, but ultimately that's going in as substantive evidence in terms of this is what happened, members of the jury. It's up for you to decide who do you find more credible, Cassidy or this agent over here who's still in the Secret Service, mind you. And obviously he's coming in today and saying, well, I never said that, or that never really got said in front of me.
Well, let's be clear. He actually hasn't said that to anyone, and whatever he has said was not sworn. So it'll be interesting to see if he does indeed come. It will be interesting to see what he will say on in the deposition once he is sworn, because lying to Congress is an entirely different thing. Now, it is apparently coming out that several agents are describing that Trump was furious at the circumstance.
Yeah.
Some are saying that he did lurch and lunge, but there's some hesitance over whether or not whatever he did they would classify as assault or whatever. And again, they are I see Joy's face. They are the Secret Service. They have jobs to do. Although it should be noted that one of these Secret Service agents was actually elevated, I think, to like Deputy Chief of Staff at some point, which is very, very rare. I don't know if people understand how rare it is for Secret Service, which is supposed to be a continuity of service across administration without bias or prejudice or political partisanship. This is the question, Mike. They have many times chosen to take the position that by definition, everything that they do with the president is privileged.
Right.
I think one of the things that may play into this is they weren't doing anything in like a secret capacity. Everything that was going on in this particular moment was literally being captured on camera. Also, he was at the tail end of his presidency. Also, he was being a traitor and trying to foment insurrection at the Capitol. And also, he's a terrible, horrible, lying son of a bitch. And so, I think...
He's a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
There you go. All right, 9 to 5.
But
Jump out of bed trying to start an insurrection.
Tom, let me ask you this though. Like, let's go there. What if they had said, all right, cool, fuck it. Like, you're grabbing the wheel, let's go. What do you think would have transpired that day? His silly ass might have gotten shot out there in the crossfire.
See, and this is the thing that they actually realized. I mean, they said, we don't have according to Cassidy, allegedly, we don't have assets on the ground to protect you. But they're my people. They aren't here to harm me. Bro, you don't know.
Right.
You don't know. Now, granted, most of them people wouldn't have had anything but dove feathers and cotton candy and Big Macs and ketchup for you, for sure. But all it takes is one squeaky from.
You misunderstand. You got to remember, this is an adoring throng Celebrities have been torn to pieces by their adoring fans. And
Perfume. Y'all remember that novel Perfume? Or the
Mhm.
horrible movie translation of the novel Perfume?
mhm.
They literally tore him to pieces and ate his ass.
I mean, in that, Lord, I'm just saying.
Yes,
We
CJ, I said the ketchup. The ketchup that ended up on the wall. Um, uh, but her Heinz. Or but his Heinz. But his catsup. The other thing that jumped out to me about her testimony was the specific request for pardons by Meadows and Giuliani.
Mhm.
Those very specific pardons, and perhaps even more so the fact that he ain't give them.
That,
He gave Stone. He gave Stone a pardon. He gave Bannon a pardon. He
yeah.
ain't give his chief of staff or his main lawyer a pardon.
That's
Also, not Matt Gates, as we said before. So that's
somebody got to stay back and block the bullets. Can't give you a pardon. I need you to stand here and take this.
right, and take this fire.
Sacrifice yourself for me, and then go.
Well, and Trevor Noah, I don't know if you guys watch The Daily Show, but Trevor Noah said, I wonder if Trump had continued to act up, if the Secret Service actually could have punched him. And then he said, but then the Secret Service person would have to get in front of his own punch. Like, no! Thank you, Trevor Noah. You are a treasure. I didn't know if you were going to be able to replace Jon Stewart, but you and your lovely little South African accents, you're a national treasure, bro.
And I love his little, international actually, but
International.
I love his little TWA. He's adorable.
Yeah, no.
Put him in my pocket.
He said, "Put him in your pocket." Joy, you're back with us.
Yes.
You look as though you're. Is that coconut water? Are you hydrating
No.
efficiently? Okay.
No.
Sure.
This is the mobile box
of wine. Of course it is. So, talk to us, Joy. What was your moment of joy in listening to Cassidy's commentary this weekend? Or since Tuesday.
Since Tuesday. So for me, it was I want to say like rallying of all the conversations that I was having, because before that moment, everything that I was doing, especially from a professional standpoint, was, can you come help us talk about the fallout from Roe v. Wade? Can you come talk about? I got back in town from being working on the West Coast, and from the moment I landed at 6 a.m., my phone was blowing up. Because I do open forums. People come talk to our women's group, come talk to our high school teenagers, come talk to this group, etc. And it felt like despair, naturally, because it was. And then me and my friends, y'all say this bullshit, we was doing the whole, under his eye. And me and my friends, me and my friends had this conversation, and I told them I wouldn't put it up, and they knew I was lying when I said it. I'll read it to you in dramatic style. Wow, uterus still going strong. Child, I'm glad I just got my brand new IUD. Yeah, because the forced birth movement is here to stay. God help us. Just call me a Martha. I wish I had accepted the hysterectomy my doctor offered years ago. Girl, I'm so glad I did. I'm certifiably empty inside, so I'm doing thought shit for the rest of my life, and I want to be buried face down, ass up.
Who was in the green?
It's my phone.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, Chuck.
But once Cassidy's so back on track. Once Cassidy's testimony came out, I saw like a rally, like some hope for the future. And I saw a lot of people saying, to your point, this is how you stand up. This is how you tell the truth in the face of like overwhelming obstacles. I wish I had caught the cartoon that I saw where it was like all these like looming like vultures and old like GOP people, and she was standing there like she goes, "I have something to say," and I was like, "Yeah, she's only one person, but that's the power of what one person can do is to kind of put the brakes on this. Like we are not going to slide into a dictatorship. Fuck what you heard, um, you can be young in the party. You can be a future hopeful. You can have them say your whole career, you throwing your career away. You can still say, this ain't right though.
Right.
So for me, and not that it wasn't any one particular thing, even though we was kikiing through the whole thing, it was the fact that she did it, you know? And like somebody said it earlier in the chat, Kellyanne Conway, she is not.
I know that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matter of fact, didn't Kellyanne Conway's own daughter troll the shit out of her?
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think she kind of chilled out.
Yeah.
I think somebody was like, "Listen, you want them car payments still paid, sis? Because what we not finna do is keep paying for that Mercedes, and you talking cash shit about your mama. We not gonna keep doing that."
Thank you, CJ.
He said, "You know what her comments are." Just
Look at that screen.
exactly. So I think, and I know that we have some more ground to cover. I just like to say that I was really impressed. I was impressed that the tide, at least for some people, has turned. Chuck, you made reference to her not older cousin, the former or the outgoing governor of Arkansas, and
Yeah.
Sarah Shuckabee Slanders looks like to be on track to jump up into that gubernatorial mansion. I mean, it's Arkansas, y'all. I don't know what you want to say. I think that the one piece of good news in the light of Roe v. Wade is that Quinnipiac actually just did some polling on our race in Georgia for currently serving Senator Warnock's seat. And I know that we've been talking about this ever since he was elected. We've been talking about how, this could very likely be, just an interim hold. And when Herschel Walker first came into the conversation, we had a lot of conversation about him being a sports figure and all this other stuff. And Warnock has been sending out like quarter hourly email appeals, calling me Kenneth. Can you do more? Raphael, I gave you the ongoing donation. I gave it to you. Don't ask me if I can do more. I has done what I'm willing to do. And you and Nancy and Val Demings and all of y'all calling me Kenneth asses, I've started to block you now.
Yeah, I've been blocking.
I wanted to try to hope that you would change and start calling me by my Christian name, but you have not, and so I've started to block. Somehow Nancy Pelosi's still getting through the cracks. But this week, Quinnipiac released a poll. It is the first poll in a long time. People have not been polling Georgia, but it's the first poll in a long time, and it shows Raphael Warnock up by double digits, 10 full points. And the takeaway appears to be, according to the pundit who was commenting on it, is that people basically think that Raphael Warnock is a good guy who actually cares about regular people.
He is. He's a really good guy. He's a reverend.
Right. And they think that Herschel Walker is an ignorant ass, spousal abusing, multiple child rearing, not in his children's lives, barely articulate peanut head who maybe shouldn't be sent to the Senate. Now, I don't disagree, Mike. I don't disagree. But 10 points is well outside the margin of error, which is only 2.5 points. So, and also, it's Herschel Walker.
And I think, aside from all the babies out of wedlock, etc., it's the way that information got released. Like,
I mean,
his own son, and I believe he uses masculine pronouns, but his own son was like, all you deadbeat fathers need to be taking care of your children and your kids and blah, 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 blah. He was all hardcore. He had all hardcore Republican values, et cetera, et cetera. And then Herschel Walker has an illegitimate child. And he's like, yeah, yeah, I do got illegitimate child, you know.
I just
And
kept my
then,
kids out of it. I can't. A man can't keep his illegitimate, unmarried baby mama kids out of a
right,
political discourse.
you can't have a side piece with a baby and just keep it quiet. That's not cheating. That's just a bad luck. I mean, whatever nonsense he was saying.
Side
And then
three
another
piece.
one, and then another one. Like, bruh. Once one comes out, go ahead and just confess
All
to
of them.
rip the band-aid off, if you will. And I think that was part of it. And then the diehard Trumpers didn't like him saying Trump didn't do nothing for me.
Well,
Don't
there's
don't
that.
bite the massa hand to feed you.
He's not.
There's
Um,
that.
He's not even bright enough to understand that how much of a mistake that was for him. He's that dumb. And,
right.
Yeah.
and I know that's mean to say, but Tom, I thought that you made a great point, and Joy, you made several great points, which is Warnock is a great guy. I
Mhm.
remember when he was on 2 years ago, I did a podcast with him early in the race when he was running. I don't think he had even won the primary yet when he came on. Tom, you may recall that. And one of the things that was interesting in the conversation, he cut me off, and we have that old saying, Tom, you can tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. And you know how we all like to talk. Tom is talking, Hobbs is talking, Joy is talking, and he shut me down like during the session because I was going off on one of my observations about Georgia and those races up in Georgia, and he was like, "Oh, brother Hobbs, hold on now, like I think I've got a shot," and then he went into a good 2 minute spiel on why he felt that he could appeal to Bubba now, and
Right.
yeah, that's where we were heading with it. And I was like, I'm concerned about the Bubba factor. And he's like, no, I think I can talk and let them know what. And so again, with that, I know that's politics. You got to say that, but I think that as Joy was alluding to, it's moving past just say. There are some Bubbas up in Georgia that are like, hey, this guy ain't that bad. And again, we can't discount the fact that when he bit that hand of Trump and what have you, a lot of the fascination people had with him was because of it. I mean, the guy can't hardly speak, and I'm not trying to be mean with that. I know people have all kind of intellectual issues. They have speech impediments. I get that. I don't pick on people, but
No.
I'm kind of on him because he's an asshole. And when you let yourself out to be an asshole, you get whatever comes your way, right? Very little compassion because he's shown little compassion for so many people. So I'm not one of those magnanimous Christians like that. I'm a work in progress, but I'm the
I mean,
type.
if you stink, you stink. That's not.
I mean, it is what it is, and so again,
You only got to check that pit so many times before you realize.
I'm trying to tell you, and it bothers me, y'all. It bothers me to no end that somebody that dense could even win the Republican primary. And I mean, and we know that there are problems over there on the GOP, but damn, like this
Well,
dude doesn't
that's
know.
what I was saying last time.
Yeah.
They just. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sweetheart, you could.
But that's what I was saying last time. He won the Republican primary because here's a black guy, so they can say we're not racist, just to fight against. So if you think back, this speaks to the tone deafness of the GOP as a whole. Because when Obama got the primary for the Democratic Party, they're like, well, we already going with what was the guy's name? The older middle
Was
of
it
the road.
not John Edwards?
No.
Back in 08?
Yeah, no wait.
Yeah.
Well, John Edwards was kind of like a backup until the haircut and the mistress blew up.
Yeah.
And
No.
then
No. On the Republican side.
Oh.
John McCain?
McCain, yes, thank you. I blew a gasket, but McCain needed a running
It's
mate,
okay.
and they picked Palin, and they picked her because she was young and vivacious. Because the Democrats had somebody young and vivacious, it would be too obvious to pick a black man, and they were never going to do that. And so they were like, let's get a pretty, and so no substance, no knowledge, no understanding, just a two-dimensional puppet. And I remember seeing, it was a matter of fact, it was a Daily Show with Jon Stewart at the time. I remember seeing an interview they did with some veterans down in Florida, ironically. And they talked about how insulted they felt that their party would pick this know nothing woman out of Alaska with no real experience and no ability to take the reins of the country should McCain fall ill, because everybody knew that he was struggling, right?
Right.
And like, that is an affront to them. They fought and bled for this country, for them to throw it over to somebody who was one breath away from the presidency, with no understanding, So they were like, that's some bullshit, basically. Back when the Republicans had sense. Now here we are again, a decade later, and they've propped up another two-dimensional puppet. Oh, y'all like black? We can put black up. Fuck what they said. Oh, here's a percent. It doesn't matter. Here's black. We can do that. We can black here. Isn't this what you want? And now we can say we're not racist. Here's a black, right?
Yeah.
But here's the biggest problem, and you alluded to it, Chuck. The biggest problem is that a puppet is only a puppet when he's willing to have a hand up his ass.
And that's where.
But when he fucked up and said, "What you mean, Trump?" They were like, "Wait, whoa. Wait, we can't control him?"
Yeah.
He actually is going to try to buck instead of tuck?
It's the wrong kind of buck, son.
No, they don't. No, because they were like, and I think honestly, you had to keep it 100% real. If Herschel Walker were more along the lines of Tim Scott, it would be a wholly different conversation. If he were more along the line of that Cameron dude in Kentucky, that attorney general or DA guy, it would be a different conversation. But what you're not going to do is get wealthy white Georgians to put an idiot in the Senate who can't talk, can barely think, got 4 fucking kids,
and won't do what he's told.
Won't do what he's told? That's on y'all.
Right.
That's on y'all. Y'all had a choice. Y'all ain't have to make this choice. Y'all had a choice, and y'all chose poorly.
What? Yeah.
Right now, it's some people like maybe one of the Koch brothers who's sitting, the living Koch brother, who's sitting there like old boy who said, "I knew it was beautiful," and he drank that shit and all his flesh came off it. All that. You chose poorly.
We are movie buffs up in here.
This is the cup of a carpenter. So, I mean, you got to, that's what tickles me. And I'm not saying, Beto, God bless you. Excuse me. God bless you, Beto. You're not fixing to be the governor of Texas.
God bless you, Beto. But you too can stop texting me.
I know that's right.
My number. I was out of Texas before you even started running, son.
Oh, I'm getting them too. It ain't about Texas. It's about if you've ever given to anybody in the Democrat. If you gave an ice cream cone coupon to a candidate, DSCC got you, and Act Blue all up in your business. So I just think that this was a great misstep. If we can count on Warnock's seat, that's great. If we can flip Rubio for Demings, I mean, I don't hold out too much confidence in that. I know that Mehmet Oz is not a lock in Pennsylvania at all. And that's a good turnover possibility. And Eric Greitens is a pretty aggressive candidate in Missouri. Now Missouri is super duper red, but if anybody can make something happen, I'd love to see the brother man who is fighting against MTG in the cowboy hat. I'd love for him to take her ass down.
Yeah, she's getting booed around. They've been gerrymandering the shit out of Northern Georgia again, and they redrew the districts. So they're trying to tear up a district that had a black representative. They cut it, whereas it used to go here, they've now cut it to go this way, and they've given Marjorie Taylor Greene some black people in her district who were like, the fuck, and so we were all out for the part, like, yo, you see this map, you see how they done fucked y'all up, and folks like, what? it was nice because it wasn't like a riot or anything protest. It was just like, oh, mm-hmm, all right, all right. I see how y'all do, and we were slowly letting everybody know because that's real G's move in silence.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's supposed to be. Listen, we wanted to keep this light because Chuck has to go, and we wanted to keep it short. I'd like to round out the show with some quick and juicy tidbits, just to set y'all's 4th of July off right. So, first of all, I'm taking a point of personal privilege. I know y'all heard the Break My Soul record, right? And a lot of people were talking stuff. People were talking about Robin S. And Robin S. got. First of all, let me just explain something to you. Robin S. did not write Show Me Love. She did not. Also, that sample is not actually a sample from Show Me Love. It is an interpolation of the pattern, but it is not a sample. And even if it were a sample, it's not a sample where Robin S.'s voice was used. So Big Frida was sampled. Okay? Robin S. was not sampled. So please stop telling Beyonce she should have reached out to Robin S. because Beyonce didn't even produce the track, and since it wasn't even a sample, she might not have even recognized what the source material was. This was a preemptive I want a new drug / Ghostbusters defense. They said we ain't even gonna play. We just gonna give you the songwriting credit because it does sound similar. This was not He's So Fine versus My Sweet Lord. They wanted to sidestep all that. That's all this was. This is blurred lines. This is not Biz Markie. But that being said, she dropped this single, and then what is it? British Vogue, Joy? I think British Vogue.
French Vogue, isn't it Paris Vogue?
It might be French Vogue. It's one of them Vogues. And they did this super duper comprehensive photo shoot where she's in dozens of damn outfits and all this other stuff. And then today, this hit the interwebs.
Yeah.
And
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this, I was gave about 5 minutes.
I am looking at thick and tender Beyonce on a lightning horse.
Mm-hmm.
Looking like one of the missing Amazons from Themyscira with
just like Lady Godiva.
Lady Yo Thighs though is what that is to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a big old thigh, and she's got like a witch blade kind of like thing over her chesticles and wrap around the butt cheekery. Listen,
Princess Leia could never.
Ain't no Sarlacc, ain't no Rancor. she is on a lightning horse.
Right.
She's on it. Remember the Old Spice guy? I'm on a horse. Right. She's on a lightning horse.
Mm-hmm.
And that is 3 kids worth of hips.
Mm-hmm.
And thighs is what that is.
The thickening.
Yeah, listen, and them grits sat off the heat but on the stove for 45 minutes because Nana forgot to move them, so they thick as hell.
Right, the one where you put the fork in and
you put the fork in and take it out like a lollipop. That's what them thigh grits is. Beyonce's thigh grits were left on the stove for 45 minutes and that little crust formed on the top, and you jabbed the fork up in that hole and then you pulled it out and it looked like a big white ice cream pop is what that is.
So
a Herald of the Apocalypse. Mike, come on, don't do this to me right now. Can I just have my lightning horse and my thick Beyonce?
If she is a herald of the apocalypse, well then that's how you know the party gonna be lit.
I know that's right. The Thigh-pocalypse.
Thigh-pocalypse.
Because you know which horseman she is not? Famine. She ain't famine. Motherfuckers might go to war over her ass. And that horse might trample you to death, but she ain't missed no meals. Not with them thighs. Whoo, Lord Jesus. Yeah,
Them hips don't
Horsewoman.
lie.
The hips don't lie and you rock at the pound the time.
No.
Whatever that song is, I
Them
don't
hips
even know what the
lie, 'cause
words
them
are.
hips said I had children. And they spread. Yo, that girl fine as fuck.
Roomy, Sir, Blue, Blursumirer, all of them, all in the hips and the
In the
mammaries.
best way possible. Like
I
got
mean, just
nothing but respect for her body.
you know what I
'Cause
think happened?
I
I
don't
think
have
during
that kind of-
Lemonade, Serena was like, "This how you thicken," and she
Mhm.
said, "Bet."
Like, hold my coconut.
Hold my lemonade. Yeah, hold my coconut water.
Y'all are.
Woo boy. Now, on the other hand, we had this, and this is for you, Joy. You can go on ahead and take this on the opposite end of the spectrum, because we went from
Think I'm
lightning horses to other people. Yeah. So why don't you walk us through what happened at the BET Awards and one of 90s hip hop most iconic personages?
You know, do we have an image of that?
You talk. I'll get you your image.
So while he is getting the image, I just want to engage in another PSA. Let's talk about addictions, because a lot of people are addicted to a lot of different things. You can be addicted to drugs, to alcohol, to sex, to plastic surgery.
Mm.
And so people do it to make themselves feel better. You know, the sex makes me feel better, the drugs make me feel better, the alcohol numbs the pain, etc. And sometimes plastic surgery can become an addiction because you feel better about yourself, better about the way you look. If you have certain types of I'm going to say body dysmorphia, for lack of a more nuanced way to put that, but I don't like the way I look, and I think I look better this way. There's a lot of women with the money and means, because it is a privileged thing to do, to just hack the shit out of yourself and put yourself back in a way that you think is more attractive. It's usually over exaggerated, and you get what you get. If you got it up, look at this.
Okay, can we take a few moments just to walk through a couple of different things? First of all, I want to say congratulations to the valedictorian of the LaToya Jackson Surgery Institute president, Little Kim, for this first panel. Okay, tell me that doesn't look like LaToya Jackson.
God damn, she doesn't like LaToya Jackson.
Okay, and then got the glasses, and because LaToya looked like Michael, I've got a bunch of different stuff going on. Then I'm looking at this hair, and it's giving me Fifth Element, the diva.
Lava Laguna.
Yes, I'm getting Laguna from her.
Mm-hmm.
Because them strands. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's her in the middle. That's Laguna in the middle. See the little purse lips? She's like, I'm doing this. And that jelly ass in that Sunday Christmas ham stuffed into lycra and shiny spandex. And then the third one is giving me
anything other than Leprechaun.
Well, it is giving you Leprechaun, especially with that very, very, very unfortunate thigh gap thing going on. I don't know what that is. But this is also the most Michael.
Yeah.
Of her.
That is a hee-hee right there.
That's a very hee-hee. That's a very hee-hee. And of course, this is a woman who was struggling through, her issues with Biggie and what Biggie was looking for. But to be clear, Little Kim was a gorgeous woman.
Mm-hmm.
Before all of this, and Il Nana and all that, and when back in the day when she was her natural God-given color, and I mean,
probably, yeah,
just no surgery at all,
mm-hmm.
just adorable. Where is that girl?
You know what was a trip to me, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. You're right. She was gorgeous back in the day. I always thought that she was like way more gorgeous than Faith, and
Oh, without question.
and it's not even close.
Not even close.
And it's unfortunate that, for whatever was going on between her relationship with Big and, the love triangle, whatever you wanted to call it, it's unfortunate that her self-esteem got wrapped up into, I've heard a lot of people say or seen people write through the years that she's tried to lighten her skin and make herself like Faith. And I'm sitting there like, boy, if we could go back in time and tell her, like, Faith needs to be trying to look like you. And Faith shouldn't. I mean, I'm just being facetious somewhat when I say that, but it's a shame. This woman.
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
Yeah,
you can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. I'm gonna go with this, and then just not even put that other picture back. Look at her.
Yeah, she was wonderful. She was beautiful.
And she was amazing
and nasty. And
there's that too.
And everybody loved her back in the '90s. Every dude I knew had that poster and loved some Kim. And it's a shame that she didn't. She didn't
love herself the way she was.
Stood it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I know that there were, the things that she needed to cover, repair, etc. But she's gone so far beyond it. That's what I mean about addiction, about looking in the mirror and still seeing something you don't like.
Yeah. This is Jocelyn Wildenstein territory, basically, at this point.
That's the Barbie lady?
No, that's the cat lady.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not my life. Mm-hmm. And she's still on stage.
True.
I think they should just go with the hologram at this point. Give me, instant costume changes, give me real original body, and just do that.
I want to say something else because it reminds me of something totally different that happened earlier today. And I told you I'm high, so it's about to be a story. But I want everybody, especially the people that are maybe not of the culture that watch our show, to understand that we can clown her and love her at the same time. We can have empathy for the fact that she may be going through something mentally that makes her want to do things that we question and don't understand, and want to understand and want her to get help if she needs it, and still be like, girl, what the fuck? Like, that's family. We love her. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that because I'm thinking about, because I live in Atlanta, and we just found out that Atlanta is like the most progressive, best city going in the country right now. And I say that because, I love my mayor, and he's like, I know him personally. And so I'll be name dropping all the time. Like, I know Drake. But also so in the midst of all the celebrations that the city was getting on Instagram and LinkedIn and everything, and I'm like liking and reposting all the stuff that Dre is posting. Then I see, spraying my foot at like midnight basketball. I was like, word. And there was a whole 400 comments of the people that love him the most clowning the shit out of our mayor for spraying it. It's like, did you even get off the bench? So see, this is why you don't have your old ass out there, blah, blah, blah. And right back to, I love Dre. Dre is great. We can love him and clown him at the same time. And that's something that I sometimes remember. Y'all remember when Keisha did that macaroni and cheese?
Yeah, that was
and you know what? I did not say nothing because Keisha is a personal friend, not just an HBCU, not just a FAMU, not just I know her chapter sisters.
But you called her a clowner, didn't you?
Listen, I'ma let a politician trying to politic like politicians do. I'ma let that person do whatever the heck they need to do. But in retrospect, Keisha. That was not the business.
That was not what it do.
The mac and cheese miscue. Yes, Anthony. And congratulations on being first again, Anthony. Anthony is never again CJ, you have scarred that man's soul.
You did. I'm gonna tell you right
He
now.
is not.
Because I like to have a good competition. I'm gonna tell you right now, CJ, we're all back screen. When we put up the 1 minute warning,
Red.
right, we saw comments start popping up and like the 30-second mark of the 1 minute warning. I was like, damn, and you weren't far behind. Y'all,
You weren't.
hey, I don't know what to tell you.
You were seconds. You were seconds behind, CJ,
It was
because
like,
you both show up at 5:38 p.m. and then Vivian Nash was also at 5:38, but Anthony actually had 2 comments in before he got out the gate, and so that's the verses I want to see. I want to see Anthony Turner versus CJ. See, every week we just keep a running tally. Oh yes, we are. We are. Happy 4th of July and F you both and all of that. We are so happy and blessed to have you Sharpies as a part of our lives. We are going to
there was a request for P Valley, but we did promise Chuck that we would let him go.
We would let, and here's the thing. I'm kind of stocking up my P Valley episodes because I watched the first one because as soon as it came out I had to watch it. And I was like, okay. But I don't like waiting. I need to be able to watch. I want to keep watching, especially Mercedes. I'm going to see what Mercedes' arc is this season. So I think it's like on episode 7 right now or something like that. So it's probably only like 3 more episodes left. So I think I'm just going to binge it. Stranger Things dropped the last 2 episodes of the season. It's almost 4 hours of television, even though it's only 2 episodes. So that's something for you to keep in mind. Love and Thunder comes out next week. I will have seen it by the time our show airs. I'm going to definitely be nerdcasting about that. For those of you who jump off of this show and go to my nerd show, we're not doing an episode this week, but next week is our 1,000th episode.
Wow.
So not with me on the show, but they do a daily show and then we do the Friday show, and I'm a part of the Friday show, but that is the 1,000th episode overall. So if you want to enjoy a pop culture deluge next week, please jump on over at the end of Steel Sharp and Steel into Nerdorama for our 1,000th extravaganza. We're going to be talking about The Boys season finale. We're going to be talking about Ms. Marvel again. We're going to be talking about Love and Thunder. We're going to be talking about The Black Phone. Spoiler alert, pass. We're going to just be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. There's some She-Hulk stuff that has just dropped. There's some rumors about Doctor Doom. There's a bunch of stuff we're going to be talking about. So please join us next week for that. And join us next week for another episode of Steel Sharp and Steel. We are counting down the days until our good friend Sharon comes to rejoin us. And so, fingers crossed for next week. But we will be here just as we always are to make sure you get your dose of politics with some unvarnished, unapologetic black perspectives. And with that, I will say, I am Tom Cunningham.
I am classy, bougie, ratchet.
I'm Chuck Hobbs.
And this is Steel Sharpens Steel.